play me good just for a rush, just for a rush. So now I wrote a song about us, with tears running down my face. Now I wrote a song about us, just trying to fill that empty space you left behind. You left behind, you left behind, you left behind. You left behind, you left behind. Can someone help me to find love again? Cause all I want is to be loved, is to be loved. Can someone free me from all my doubts? Feels like a prison, I want out, now I want out. I don't understand why you hurt me. I don't understand why you wanna let me down. Can't understand. Was it all worth it? You played me good just for a rush, just for a rush. So now I wrote a song about us, with tears running down my face. Now I wrote a song about us, just trying to fill that empty space you left behind. You left behind, you left behind, you left behind. You left behind, you left behind. So now I wrote a song about us, with tears running down my face. Now I wrote a song about us, just try to fill the empty space you left behind. You left behind, you left behind. Oh, you left behind. Hey, you left behind, you left behind.
You cannot seem to get to me. I am back with a stolen identity. You know I see through anything. I'm a one-man army with a bitter sting. You give me no reasons. I'm broken to pieces. There's no one can erase. Stuck inside your frame. You know that's why I don't.
Welcome. Another episode of Picking Sides with Piper the Professor. I'm John Piper, and he be the professor. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. That seemed like quite a tongue twister there. I don't think we thought through all of the P's when we came up with this, huh?
But hey, I got it right, didn't I?
You did. I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know if I could have said it that well.
Yeah, hey, man, hey, if you're just now tuning in, we don't really rehearse much of this. This is just a conversation. I'm John Piper, the Professor Ryan Sides. This is our third or fourth live show. We'll lose track quick, but
depends on what you want to call show.
Yeah, probably our third full length show. We hopped on and did a short one, I think Sunday night. But man, glad to be back. How you doing? Yeah. We're broadcasting from Denton, Texas, just north of Dallas, Fort Worth. But wherever you're tuning in from, welcome. And man, hey, some good news. Early this afternoon, 2-0 in college basketball.
Yeah, started off with 2 winners off the bat. I'm not really sure why, but the afternoon games I seem to be on are at some incredible 80 or 90% clip. I don't see that as a trend that carries on. It's just a fun nugget that we seem to start off in the afternoons doing really well. It's kind of interesting.
Right. That's good. Well, a couple things. You want to talk, we don't want to get into too much of the math, but I know you want to mention at the top, kind of reset things with the fan base. We talked about it in show 1, Professor, about constant, never-ending improvement in the modeling, and you've already made some tweaks. You want to give everybody a little high level of some of the things that you've seen thus far in this early season for us.
Yeah, so we made those tweaks and we kind of realized some of our estimates were a little bit out of balance. Since then, we have had 260 plays, so that's not a small sample size at all. In those 260 plays, we're at 55% plus 16.4 units. So we're real pleased with that. We're going to continue to try to make tweaks and keep that getting better, but we're tracking at the same thing this week. So far, we're up a couple of units and at 55% for the week. So you can't complain about that. We're going to hopefully have another good week every once in a while where we jump up towards 60%, but you truck along here at 55%, and that's going to be pretty good. So we're pleased about that so far.
Yeah, hey, I do want to let people know you can. We're building this community. We know it'll take some time, but text the word "win" to 214-416-9771 and enable us to send you out late breaking information. Maybe you want to double up on a unit, maybe 15 minutes before kickoff or tip off. And that'll enable us to do that really clean form of communication. We've been using that some to let people know, when we come on the air and things of that nature. And I'll have to check it here in a minute, but it's interactive. Text us back and we'll communicate with you there as well. So I know you want to talk a little bit and don't get too into the weeds. I know, hey, folks, full disclaimer, the professor can get into some minutia on some of the details. If you want to talk a little bit about the CLV and some things, that was pretty interesting, though. We talked about it earlier this afternoon during show prep. So very interesting. If you want to share that.
Yeah, I wanted to give a little overview of this. It's kind of a new thing that's catching on. It makes a lot of sense. I wanted to talk about the pros and the cons. We've only got 2 NFL games to talk about today, so I wanted to give the people some good content. But we're hearing a lot about CLV, closing line value. There are some people that would say that closing line value is the only way that you're going to be a profitable bettor. We'll talk later about why that's not necessarily true, but it's still a good metric. What closing line value is it's just going to basically give you an estimate of how much better or worse the line you got is versus what the line closed at. And you always want to do better than what the line closes at. So the idea is, if the line's moving one direction, if it's moving away from you, you want to wait and get a better number. If it's moving to the side you're on, you want to grab it before some of that value goes away. We're over at BetStamp, which validates bets. They track CLV really well. It's going to show you, your plus 2%, your minus 2% on something. Just a quick example. You lay 2 points with a team. The line closes at -3. So in theory, you've got a little bit of value there because you're laying 2, but if you got that line real late, you'd have to lay 3. And it's not going to happen a lot, but occasionally that's going to help out. So just a quick little talk about CLV, though. The main thing I want to get across to people is that it's a good metric. It's interesting. You want to have positive closing line value, but it's not the only thing that matters. We've seen specifically in baseball, I've seen this done out as an example that if you bet favorites, you want to bet the favorite earlier in the day. And if you bet underdogs, you want to bet them later in the day. And so that would imply that you can get good closing line value just by betting every favorite early in the day, because you're going to get a better number than where it closes. But that doesn't mean that's a wise strategy. It kind of assumes that the marketplace is efficient. So anybody who understands economics will think about efficient marketplaces. The gambling marketplace, we know, is not efficient. We know it's maybe weakly efficient, but we know it's not a perfectly efficient market. So it's just something that's coming up, and I've talked about it on Twitter a little bit, and so I wanted to make sure people understood what that meant. Again, just as a high level idea, it's kind of saying how much better or worse did you do than where the line closed at.
Well, Professor, I was just sitting back taking that in, and hey, this is a suggestion for, I won't mention it on the air, but the college you teach at. I think you have an opportunity to teach a sports betting class, tie it back to statistics, and I think that class might be the most popular class on campus. What do you think?
I mean, that would be a pipe dream right there.
Pipe dream. Man, you weaved in pipe again on that. I like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, good stuff. The professor. That was good. You know, part of this is an educational process. We talked before, one reason we started the show is over 20 states now allow legalized gambling. I was talking to some people in New York the other day, and they just moved from New York to New Jersey. And I was kidding. It had nothing to do with this, but I was kidding. I said, did you move into New Jersey so you could legally bet on sports? And they kind of got a chuckle, but you know, some people are definitely taking the train into New Jersey to bet on sports. I guess the apps know through GPS that you're in New Jersey, and it lets you bet on some of the apps that you can bet on your mobile device. So,
yep,
well,
that's correct.
Professor, anything else on college basketball before we segue into kind of a quick recap of last weekend's picks on the NFL, and then we'll talk about we're down to the Final Four here in the NFL this weekend, and we'll drill into that and talk about our picks, and might have a little disagreement with you on one of them, and get into that. But anything else on college basketball?
Nothing else there. Just we mentioned BetStamp. I mentioned that on Twitter. It's a great app. They don't pay us to say this, but I've started using it the last couple of days. I really like it. It allows you to track what your plays are, what odds you're getting, what the best odds are. You can specify which casinos you're playing at so that it only shows the best available that you can get. It'll calculate closing line value. It'll calculate ROI. And I really like it because I see a lot of people out there giving picks on Twitter, and the lines that they're posting are things that aren't there when you're posting it. Maybe they did get that line earlier in the day, but they didn't post it. So you just never really know. BetStamp verifies that. So everything that we do on there has a little B next to it. It signifies that they have validated that the play we were making was available at the time we said we wanted to make it. And that way you know that there's no funny business. We really like this app. It really adds a lot of credibility, we think. And so just a little plug for that. Go follow us on BetStamp. We're at Piper and the Prof there, just like we are on Twitter.
I got a chuckle when what you just said. That was funny. Hey, a quick shout out. Christina Capaza, I think you say that, from Asheville, North Carolina. Matter of fact, I have some family that live in Asheville, North Carolina. Do you know Christina, Professor?
My wife does.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm a big believer in that 6 degrees of separation. I have two sister-in-laws and one brother-in-law that live in that area. Obviously, some great restaurants, some good stuff. So I'll off the air, I'll tell you about that. And we've got somebody I think you might know, Professor, from Denton, Texas, Victoria.
Yes.
Always good.
From downstairs.
Give a shout out. I believe hailing from Lexington, Kentucky, Mark Yates. It's been a long time, but he and I went to high school together. I think he found us through social media. Go figure, through Facebook or something. But hey, Mark, thanks for tuning in. He says our Cats suck. He's talking about the Kentucky basketball team are having their worst year in a long time.
And we made some money against them yesterday, just like we've been doing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mark, I hope you're not betting with your heart. And don't bet with emotion. If you got to where you don't like the Wildcats, don't just bet on them because you don't like them either. Right, Professor? Is that good advice?
That's good advice. Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's roll into last week. Last weekend wasn't our best. I mean, when these games are going on, I know I'm tuned into most of them or following them on the radio or some app. We got all different ways of NFLlive.com right on your mobile device is streaming these games as well. But I know you and I were texting back and forth. Wasn't the ideal weekend, but we've talked. You can't win them all. We're just trying to give you a little insight, a little edge. So at the end of the season, not the end of a weekend, but the end of the season, you come out ahead, right?
Absolutely. We're there's enough games in college basketball where we're hoping that every week is profitable. It probably won't be every week, but we think most weeks can be profitable in college basketball. Obviously, the NFL, we're going to have some bad weeks. It's going to happen. We're just, like you said, we're hoping that the overall is profitable. We're still profitable for the playoffs overall, barely, but we are profitable for the playoffs overall, despite not our best showing last weekend.
Yeah, first up, I got the line up there on the screen, but it was the Rams at the Packers. And, this is one we had our first little disagreement. We don't always agree. We agree to disagree sometimes. But the professor, the computer, I wish I should have a computer sound right now, liked the Rams. And but I kind of stuck my neck out there. Well, you know what? Let me take a step back, Professor. You weren't really certain on it, so you didn't really pick a pure winner.
Didn't pick a side, yeah.
You deferred. We did our show. We're doing our shows on Thursday night, so you said, I'm not going to go with one or the other, but you were hedging towards the Rams. I kind of stuck my neck out there, and I said, in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is going to get the job done, and he will cover. And sure enough, unofficially, Piper is 1-0.
Yeah, 1-0. Yeah, Well, will you put your perfect record on the line later, right?
I will.
All right. Yeah.
I will talk about that. And anything else on the Rams Packers?
I mean, we like the Packers to win the game. We like teasing that one. That worked out well. It got us through the 6 and through the 3, and that was good. But that game was really tough to peg personally with all the quarterback stuff happening with the Rams. I just didn't really know where to go with it, and you nailed that one. So congrats to you on that one. It's a lesson that even if there's only 4 games on the board, you don't have to play all of them. And that was one where I didn't mind getting a little action on the teaser, but as just picking a side there, that seemed like a tough one to figure out from my standpoint, at least.
And then next up was the Ravens at Bills. Lost on Baltimore there. Man, yeah.
That was a tough one. I mean, everything was going our way. Baltimore was driving to tie it up. And, and I think it was the third quarter. I was thinking that we've got the tie here. We might get the side, but we got the teaser for sure because they're driving to tie that game up. They're not going to lose by more than 8.5. And a pick 6 where that guy just weaves through everybody and is off to the races. Lamar gets hurt. Then there's a 4th down later. The wide receiver's wide open, and the winds were so crazy in that game. The wind carries the ball 5 yards over his head. That would have been a touchdown. Then they drive for the garbage time backdoor. Can't convert on 4th and goal. That one hurt. I really, watching that, we had so many chances to get that teaser, and we didn't. But the lesson from that, and I tell people this all the time, teasers are really tough. We don't like to recommend a lot of teasers. I will almost assuredly not recommend a teaser during the regular season. Maybe in the playoffs, we talked about the lines get tighter, but teasers are tough. And the reason why is, as we talked about last week, you've got to make up 20 plus percentage points and you're only getting 6 points. You have to have a lot of things go right. It's like you see people do these big money line parlays. They'll put 6 teams together in a money line parlay and say, oh, none of them will lose. And individually, none of them probably are likely to lose. But when you have to have a lot of things happen. And that's the problem with teasers, is that we got the first one and things were going so well for us on the second one, but you can't get that one break and all of a sudden the whole bet loses. So that's why teasers can be a tough thing and something that I try to tell people maybe flirt with a little bit, but don't try to make your living on the teasers.
Professor, let me reset the show real quick. Some people may have just tuned in or stumbled across us. Hey, do us a favor, share out the stream if you're on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're finding us. Share that out with other friends of yours that are into sports betting, whether it's for fun, entertainment, $5, $10 with friends, or we talk about units on the show. PSA, gamble responsibly. That's why we talk about units. If $10, $20 a game is in your budget, that's great. You can lose that, but don't double up. Don't go from 10 or 20 to 300 or 400 a unit. Take care of your money is what we're all about here. Professor, also you can text to win 214-416-9771 to become part of the Picking Sides community, and we're going to do a lot of cool things with that. And next up, let's do a quick recap on the Browns-Chiefs, Professor. Man, that was a crazy game. We were tuning in. We were texting each other back and forth, but crazy stuff right there.
Yeah, we missed on the over on that one. Tons of yardage, tons of field goals. Watching that game with the way those teams are moving up and down the field, we really thought the over. I really stand by. I think the over was the right side, and it just didn't work out for us. That's the way it goes. Sometimes you have a good idea and it doesn't work out for you. The over was like that. Those teams moved the ball, just couldn't get into the end zone, and then that fumble out of the back of the end zone. Can we change that rule? I don't understand how you fumble out of bounds to the sideline and you get the ball there. You fumble out of bounds in the end zone and you lose possession. To me,
Yeah,
it's one of the worst rules in
rule.
sports.
Yeah. There's so many rules, and they have rules committees. They relook at that each and every year, and it's probably hard. I'm sure that I think I saw they had to review it and talk about it, and I think it's even confusing for the umpire team.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen the proposal. What I'd love to see what that rule is, I think they're calling it the reverse touchback, where if you fumble out of the end zone, you get the ball at the 20 going in now. So you still have a penalty. Fumbling isn't good. You still have a penalty for it. You move the ball back to the 20, but now you're 20 yards away from the end zone instead of losing possession. Because to me, you should only lose possession if the other team gains possession. And in that case, the other team didn't gain possession. So it seems frustrating. I know Browns fans were really upset about that one. They did get the backdoor cover for us, though. We had +10 on Cleveland, and that one at least did come through for us.
Hey, next up, this was a special game because I think it's fair to say it was Drew Brees' last game. Professor, I don't know if you saw any video of the footage after the game, but Brees and Tom Brady have been longtime friends. They work with the same mental and quarterback coach named Dr. Tom House, who I've had the luxury of interviewing for a baseball podcast I do, and just kind of the guru, a longtime pitching guy in the majors. And it was neat to see at the end of the game, Brady was throwing touchdown passes to Brees' kids, and the look on Brees' face when he left the stadium, he looked up one last time to that scoreboard. I'm pretty sure if there's a bet in Vegas on it, will he return or not, I'm sure the odds are greatly favored that he will retire and just walk off into the sunset and enjoy his family life.
I think he's got a contract with one of the, maybe CBS or NFL or someone to do some broadcasting and helping out with that. I think he'll be great at that. He seems like a real sharp guy.
Yeah, great story. Right here in Texas. Played his college ball at Purdue, I believe.
That's correct. Yeah. But we got Tampa on that. We got 2 units on Tampa, and that worked out really well for us. It seemed like we got lucky in that game personally. I think we were closer to winning the Ravens game, maybe the over in the Browns Chiefs. We had some tough luck losses, but we got back lucky on that one. Watching that game, it felt like it was a 50-50 game, and or the Saints were the better team in that game, actually. They just couldn't stop from turning the ball over. And so Tampa got us to the window there. But I definitely felt fortunate. I felt good about that, given the bad luck we had the day before in Baltimore, that we got it back on this one.
Yeah, good stuff. Hey, this segue into live action this weekend. We're down to the Final Four. Hard to believe. Texas high school football just wrapped up as well due to the month delay for COVID. So all we have left, Professor, is, I guess, 3 weekends. We got this weekend, a week off, and then Super Bowl. So it's coming down to the wire. And let me take that one off the screen. Next up, Sunday at 3:05 Eastern on Fox. Tampa Bay travels up to Green Bay, and the weather, it's going to be, I think, in the teens or 20s. It's going to be cold. Tom Brady, obviously he played in New England, but being down there in Tampa, 43 years of age, is there any factor in the model? Did you put any factor at all? Tom Brady, going into cold weather?
No, we didn't. It's a good question, though, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit concerned about that. But if you follow us on Twitter, we already got this play out there. We took a unit on Tampa Bay +3.5 at +115. We took a unit on +3 even money. We talked about that being a good way to split your bets last weekend. We're doing the same thing this weekend with Tampa, so it's kind of the same playbook. Going into a tough environment in New Orleans last week, going into a tough environment in Green Bay this week. But we have Tampa Bay as a pretty good team, and Brady is definitely getting up there in age, and the weather is a bit of a concern. But we make this a 1-point game, nowhere near 3. We have these two teams as pretty even and not much of a home field edge. So we're going to be on Tampa Bay again, just like we were last week.
I like it. I'm with you there. Next up is, take that one off, Sunday, 6:40 Eastern, 5:40 Central on CBS. Buffalo at Kansas City. And Patrick Mahomes, one of the question marks is, I didn't see it live, but I was listening to it on the radio. Mahomes took that hit, tried to get up, and if there wasn't other Kansas City Chiefs players nearby, he was going to fall to the ground. He took a pretty rough concussion. He's still in concussion protocol. Has the professor factored that into the model at all?
So we're making no adjustment. We are going to assume that Mahomes is 100% healthy. We've been against Buffalo both rounds of these playoffs, but here is a plot twist for you. We're going to be on the other side this weekend. We made this game a pick'em if they would have played before last weekend, and now we have Buffalo minus 0.3. That's in Kansas City. That means we have Buffalo as a superior team than the Chiefs, believe it or not. And even if those numbers aren't exactly perfect, we think we've got quite an edge on Buffalo. So we're going to take a unit on Buffalo +3 right now, or I am as the professor. I'm going to take a unit on Buffalo +3. We're 5-0 in betting on Buffalo this year. We're 4-0-1 when going against Kansas City. So we really like this spot. And additionally, we don't really know where this line's going to go because, as you mentioned, the Mahomes talk, I'm going to assume he plays. I'm going to assume that this line leaks out and gets a little bit more favorable towards Kansas City. And so I'm going to look to get an additional unit on Buffalo closer to kick. So we'll post it on Twitter when we think the right time to jump is. I'd like to get a 3.5, just like we did in the first game. Or another bet at better odds. But even if it doesn't go our direction, even if it's at +2.5 even money, or even if it's at +3 -120, we still think a second unit on Buffalo is justified. Both of these are just two games that we think we have a big edge on. And then the last thing I want to say about it, though, don't wait too late. I do think that 15, 30 minutes maybe before kickoff, I think there will be some Bills money coming in. So don't wait till after that happens. Do that before that, just so you get those better odds. I think in the early game, I think Tampa and Green Bay are both popular sides to bet. I think in this game, I think Kansas City is going to be the popular side to bet. Everybody who's either won or lost money on that first game, I think is going to come pouring in on Kansas City, assuming Mahomes is healthy and ready to play. That's kind of the assumption we're making here, that he's going to be good to go.
Yeah, Professor, that's kind of where I was leaning in the X factor, and it will be, I think, maybe 30 minutes before kick decision. But we'll see how Mahomes progresses this week of practice. And, he's just got a few more days. But Mahomes in Kansas City, he's proven he's a winner, Super Bowl champion. Piper's going to go against the grain. And depending on it'll be, we'll probably put it in the on the Piper and the Prof Twitter, and I'll let you know if I end up going with Mahomes there. But we may have a little disagreement on this one. Kansas City knows how to win. The question is, will they win and cover? That's the question.
Yeah, especially with now the last couple of years since they've moved that extra point back, you're seeing many more games finish at 1 point and 2 points than we ever have before. That's, of course, the benefit to getting +3 is if it goes to overtime, you're probably safe as well. So it's not just that Kansas City wins. They have to win by 3 or more, which would have been a much safer play several years ago. But it should be a fun game. And the thing that I want to mention too on this is it's not a play that I love, but there are many plays that I think our computer suggests that I don't necessarily love. Those tend to be the ones that work out better. And the reason why is the plays that I don't love, other people don't love as well. A lot of people, I think, are going to be on Kansas City. And that doesn't mean that the Chiefs won't win. Doesn't mean they won't win big. But it just means on the aggregate, when you think about a lot of people on one side, but the math says the other side, the math tends to help you out and be something you want to look at strongly, because it's the side that's maybe not as attractive. But there's reason that there's reason that the line isn't higher.
Well, Professor, hey, Mark Yates has been tuned in. Hey, Mark, I know you know a lot of people in and around Central Kentucky that you can share this with, whether it's on the Facebook or YouTube. We love to have a Kentucky connection coming in here. You know, this is where it all started back at Wildcat Liquor years ago. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I won't get into any details so I don't get anybody in trouble, but I'll tell you about it offline there, Professor. And, Rep Arena right down the road. But Mark Yates, thanks for tuning in. Hey, we do want to talk a little bit, and we don't have a betting favorite here, but for you UFC fans, Conor McGregor is fighting on Saturday night, and I've been tuning into some UFC stuff now for a couple years. I've got some buddies here in Texas that just love it. They're going to do pay-per-view. I'm going to go over, but McGregor versus Poirier. Actually, McGregor is a big favorite in Vegas right now. I've got it posted here, plus 275. I think that's mainly for his name, but it's hard to bet against Conor McGregor. And Professor, have you ever seen a UFC fight?
Maybe seen about half of one. Turned it on, just kind of seeing what was going on, and just didn't really get down with people kicking the crap out of each other.
Yeah, it's violent. It's hard to believe they outlaw cockfighting, but they'll let two grown men or women. There's women that hop in there too, and it's brutal. I mean, sometimes it's hard. I got to turn my head and can't even watch.
Yeah, it's fun for some people. Look, I get squeamish watching Grey's Anatomy, so the same sort of thing there. There are people's heads flying different ways and blood everywhere. That's just not for me. So I've stayed away from that, really.
Well, hey, let me post this one more time before we wrap things up, Professor. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Another great show. But remember, text the word WIN, W-I-N, to 214-416-9771. Mark Yates, if you're on there, become part of our community, and we can get information out to you, especially like breaking news, or if we want to say, hey, add another unit to a game. That's how we'll do it. That's the best way for us to get information out to you. Thanks for joining us today on Picking Sides with Piper and the Professor. And y'all have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.